Cool. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the NarikChase channel. I'm your boy NarikChase, and in this video we are going to be going down a list of the my top 50 favorite comic book movies. Now, I hate doing these really long lists because there are a lot of factors that are taken into account. Now, in this video, this list, we're going to be including live action and animated. These are specific comic book movies, not superhero movies, but just specific comic book movies. I feel like I'm going to miss some. I feel like this list isn't going to necessarily be fair, because I know I'm going to forget some, and it's not really in any particular order except for maybe the top 10. So that's another thing, that's another factor into it. But before I go ahead and jump into this, I want to go ahead and remind you guys, hit the like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. We also have a PayPal link in the description box below if you want to donate to help the channel. And without having said that, let's go ahead and get to this this top 10. Now, this is going to be a long list. I'm not editing this, so this is going to be for the long haul. If you're not going to sit here and listen to the whole video, because it's probably like 30 plus, go ahead and bounce now. If not, just want to hear everything I have to say, then fine. I'm not going to give too much into each one because it's such a long list. So I just give a quick description of it, why I like it and things like that, my highlights and stuff, and then keep it pushing. So I guess I go ahead and just start from my top 10 and then just make my way on. And not to say that these movies are necessarily bad or anything. These, I'm just, like I said, my top 10 are my top 10. The rest of them are just, I guess, equal. I just haven't figured out an order for them. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Number one favorite comic book movie is Batman Under. What I like about it, the voice performances are really good. The storytelling is really good. I really like the characters. I love the underlying theme of it. I love the emotional journey it is that we see Batman go through, and his relationship with Jason Todd. And I just love the whole idea of the premise focuses more on, criminals. You treat criminals like garbage because in society we view them as garbage, and they should get no mercy versus the mercy that they do get, and how that feeds into this cycle of constant criminal activity and stuff like that. So I really do like the journey in this one. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's a really good pace. It is my favorite comic book movie. Perhaps said that. All right, number two, Captain America: Civil War. Captain America: Civil War, good cast. I like the tension. I do like the two ideologies, freedom versus subjugation, basically, even though it's more of, setting the film of, hey, we operate independently or we operate under government control. And I like the idea of it. I like that they have a really big cast, and really all of the characters do feel like their inputs are heard. They feel really important. I like how they focus on all these characters, and like I said, it feels like they're all important. It's got some really good memorable moments. It's got some really good action sequences. In fact, the biggest superhero battle you see between superheroes excuse me, is in this film. It's got a really good emotionally driven ending. And also, we got to see Spider-Man and Black Panther pop up in the MCU, and their intros were just great. Number three, Death of Superman. If there was ever a movie that I wanted to see Superman just go all out and it's just be a fight, I love the fact that in Man of Steel, that it felt like there was high stakes, there was a lot of destruction. It felt like gods fighting gods. And in this film, you get to see Doomsday, Superman just go at it. I love the little moment we get with Wonder Woman fighting Doomsday. I just love that this film shows not only how badass Doomsday is as a character, because this movie is just basically just an ass whooping fest. And I enjoy basically just a fight. When Doomsday hits the floor, it just gets to go, and just nothing but fights, nothing but action. There is emotional drama when it comes to Clark, Lois Lane, that's in the background. There's actually not really a background, that's actually running alongside with this doomsday plot that they have going on. And it makes for a very good and insightful look into who Clark is as a character in this version of the character. So I really enjoyed that romance between these two and where it builds and leaves off at the end, and how the doomsday fight just goes just completely insane. Not to mention you see a lot of ass whooping again. Number 4, The Flashpoint Paradox. Like the film, hadn't read the comics, but Flash goes into the past to save his mom, which just, the world just changes and goes into the most craziest directions. It's great because not only is it a good story, it was really cool seeing these different incarnations of my favorite characters. Wonder Woman is basically an evil bitch. Aquaman's a straight up cheating asshole. Batman is Bruce Wayne's father. And just seeing these different incarnations of the characters is really cool. I'm always for seeing alternate versions of characters, and if they make sense, I'm good with it. And I felt like they did a great job of making sense in this. And not to mention, it has some really good action sequences in there as well. Number 5, Blade 2. Like the first Blade, but I like Blade 2 more. I think it's darker. I think it's a bit more grittier. I like the fight sequences. I like the kind of the emotional strings that Blade has to deal with. I like Norman Reedus. I like his character. I like the Reapers. I think they're really menacing creatures. I think they look nasty. I like the fact that they're just so hard to kill, and it just makes for some very high stakes in this film. And not to mention, it's got a really good cast. I mean, Ron Perlman's in here. So, number 6, speaking of Ron Perlman, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. I thought the first film was like, oh, okay, but I like Hellboy 2 because, again, Rob Perlman is awesome. We get a bit more action sequences in it. I like the cast of characters. I like how they function as a unit. I like the story. I think the makeup design, the art design, set pieces, they just look brilliant. Guillermo del Toro does a good job with the direction and just the visual aspect of the film. And not to mention, Salma, whatever the chick, Elizabeth Sherman, she's completely hot in this film. And did I mention this Ron Perlman? Coming in at number 7, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 up the ante for Peter Parker. It's a great film, really good action sequences. Never liked Doc Ock before this movie. Doc Ock is a really cool character. I like the way he fights. I like the way he looks. I like the mechanical arms. Everything just looks really cool. They have some really cool, memorable moments in this film. Some of the best fight sequences in the Spider-Man franchise are definitely in this movie. And I like the emotional aspect of it, between this really just powerful pull and contrast between Peter and Mary Jane, and ultimately how it leaves off at the end. Great sequel to a really good movie of that, which was the first one. Coming in at number 8, Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. Cannot say how much I really enjoyed this movie. Supergirl is one of my favorite comic book characters, and seeing this incarnation of her come to Earth, having to learn how to acclimate herself to the Earth and cultures, just the culture of the Earth. How Wonder Woman fits into training her, Superman trying to shield her from the world, Batman sitting here trying to figure out what her purpose is here, and then of course Darkseid shows up. Really, really cool animation, really badass fights. Some of the best animated fights in the entire DC animated universe. Coming in at number 9, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Watched the movie before I read the books. Gotta say, really cool adaptation. Action visually is highly appealing. Love Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Definitely wish she could be the Missus. She's one of my favorite actresses. But like I said, it's a really fun time. It's a really good adaptation of the comics. Coming in at number 10, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm a huge Justice League fan. I actually did by Josh Whedon. But I have to say that this one definitely fixes those problems. The action is a lot better, a lot more in depth with the characters. I felt like the movie was much more emotionally driven. I like the fact that Cyborg was a really prominent character. I've never really liked Cyborg, but this movie actually gave me a bit more insight to his character, made me feel for his character a bit more, made me like his character a bit more. I like all of the cast. I like the performances. I really liked it. It was a really good thrill ride. It was a long movie, but it was definitely worth it. Coming in at number 11, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for a lot of what it did and what it could have been, and I feel like I wish they could have went back and kind of fixed some of the problems of this movie. But The Amazing Spider-Man visually is just a stunning and great looking movie. That is not, can't really take that from this film. It has an amazing soundtrack. It has one of the best soundtracks I've heard in a superhero film. Just the overall, that opening sequence was just gold. It was just beautifully crafted, beautifully just made. Even with Electro's theme, with the techno feel to it. So it just sounds and looks like a really good movie. I like the look of Electro. Yes, the movie has plenty of problems. There's a lot to do with the story. There's a lot to do with the writing. But I still think it's an entertaining enough movie. And I did like the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Coming in at number 12, Man of Steel. I think this is the best Superman story, hands down. I like the emotional journey that the character has to go through. I like the visual aspect of it. I love the fact that the fights, that everything just feels so intense in this film. The fights are just straight up badass. They're large scale, they're high stakes. You can definitely tell what is at stake in this movie with just how destructive everything is. And I really like the film. And plus the score is just beautiful. Just a beautiful score. Coming in at number 13, The Dark Knight. Now, I'm not one of those enthusiasts that's like The Dark Knight is the best comic book movie of all time, and maybe not even necessarily the best Batman comic book movie, but as a movie, I think it's really good. I like, of course, I like the Joker. Heath Ledger did a really good job. I like the story. I like the psychological feel to it, of how it focuses on Batman's psychology of what he would do to get a villain and to stop a villain. I like the fact that they brought people into it, so there's a bit of a psychological thing going on with the Joker kind of pushing the people to try to be the worst that they can be, and you see to some extent he does succeed. So I really do enjoy that. And again, Heath Ledger just completely killed as the Joker. Thumbs up. Coming in at number 14, Deadpool 2. Deadpool, this one, I hate watching superhero movies where they're fighting human-based, like humans, regular, normal humans in that movie. Really didn't like it because of that. And in this one, you know, you got Deadpool fighting Cable, Juggernaut, you know what I'm saying? I like the fight. What was the girl? Her name wasn't Jinx. It was, freak, I can't remember her name. The chick that played the Lucky Girl. The chick that's in the movie, the woman that Zaza plays in the film, really enjoyed her. I really enjoyed the Josh Brolin as Cable. Thought he did an exceptionally good job with the character. I really thought it was a fun time. It was funny. It had good action. It had good performances. Deadpool 2 definitely deserves 2 thumbs up. The first Deadpool did a decent job in making me like the character, but I believe this film does an even better job of doing it. Coming in at number 15, Justice League Dark. Now, I've never heard of Justice League Dark, but I really do like the premise of it. We have a group of superheroes that simply focus on fighting like magical and paranormal type characters. And seeing John Constantine, again, a character that felt was a bit obscure to me, I actually liked him in this. And I like the different characters that they bring into the fray to help actually fight along what was going on. It's actually a pretty cool story, and Zatanna being in the film is one of my favorite super comic book characters too, and it was nice seeing her have her moment. John Constantine was actually a pretty cool character. Swamp Thing, it was nice seeing this Dead Man. Never heard of this guy he actually is a pretty cool character as well. So like Justice League Dark was actually a really good. I like the animation, I like the voice performances, I like the story, I like the action. It's just a good, fun time all around. Coming in at 16, Shazam. Didn't think I'd actually like this film, but I actually ended up liking it. I thought it was funny. I thought it had a bit of heart to it. I didn't really like the villain. Thought he just pretty much one note, one dimensional. I mean, I can guess I could kind of see that he I guess they kind of what they were kind of doing with the character, but honestly, when you think of Shazam, you think of Black Adam. You think of those level of villains, and this guy was okay. It just wasn't really memorable, and I think that was kind of the problem. Now maybe he is somebody from the comics, but I don't know. But like I said, he just wasn't really memorable enough, so that's why he felt really one note. But aside from that, the character, the kids, I thought they were cool. Good humor. I actually liked the guy that plays Shazam. I thought the suit looked stupid when I first seen it, and like I said, I thought it was really cool. So Shazam definitely deserves 2 thumbs up. Following Shazam, coming in number 17 is Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman is great for a lot of reasons. It has its share of issues, but it's good for a lot of reasons. One, Gal Gadot, perfect as Wonder Woman. If somebody can pick up, I mean, of course, there'll be other chicks that can play a good Wonder Woman too, but as far as live action Wonder Woman, she's the best hands down. There's no denying that. Simply, she is. I guess it's my opinion, but more people probably do like Linda Carter than Gal Gadot, but I like Gal Gadot. And it's got a good story to it. Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine. Great chemistry between these two characters. It has a lot of heart to this film. The setting of the World War was a good backdrop to not only showcase what Amazons truly fear about man, but also it was a good backdrop towards seeing towards Wonder Woman developing and learning about the world and everything. So it's got some really cool action in it. It's got some pretty good moments. It's got a really good setup. The 2 leads are actually really good with good chemistry, and it was also cool seeing the Amazons like do Amazon stuff. So that was pretty badass. Coming in at number 18, Atomic Blonde. I have not read the comics, but this movie actually surprised me. I thought it was garbage. Sat there, watched it, really enjoyed it. Charlize Theron's one of my favorite actresses, and I like seeing this really cool, deep, dark spy, secret agent movie. It's got a lot of twists and turns, and really the story isn't something like you haven't seen before. It's pretty standard. There are some characters, I mean, when you start to kind of get on board, you start to say, okay, this guy's the bad guy. This is what's kind of going on, and this guy's a dick and everything. It's like, okay. But what stands out with this film is the hard-hitting fight sequences. They are well shot. They are well choreographed. They are brutal. And I have to give 2 thumbs up to Charlize Theron and whatever stunt double that she had going on, because those fights were just brutal. Those are some of the darkest fights I've ever seen in any comic book movie. It wasn't that you just punch and somebody just walks away from it. Like, it was straight up brutal, bloody, just ugh. But it's got some of the best. That hallway fight scene, the staircase fight scene, one of the best. Alright, coming in at number 19, Thor Ragnarok. The first Thor film I thought was okay. Dark World wasn't completely terrible, but I don't feel like it was good as a good follow-up to the Thor film, because there's so much they could have done, but they didn't do. But Thor Ragnarok manages to just go silly, and it's just a fun experience. Not only do we get a well-deserved Thor versus Hulk fight, which makes up for any of the BS, the BS in the Avengers film, because that fight was not no fight, but it was actually funny. There was actually a bit of heart to it when it came to Loki and the Valkyrie. Hela is one of my favorite MCU villains. I think she's actually really, really sexy and really, really well done, even though they did manage to technically change her backstory up and stuff. But it was actually a fun film. Coming in at number 20, The Suicide Squad. And when I say The Suicide Squad, I meant the 2021, not the 2016 one. But this film was actually really good. I liked seeing the characters. There were some new characters. In fact, they introduced some really cool characters, Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man, two of my favorite DCU characters that have been introduced. I really like John Cena as Peacemaker. I liked Idris Elba. I thought it had a lot of heart to it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a well-told story. Starro, one character I've never given a shit about, actually was really menacing in the film. Actually pretty cool. So there's a lot of good, great moments in this film. And a lot of the issues that people said the first Suicide Squad film had, this one actually does it a bit better. Coming in at number 21, Justice League Doom. Now, Justice League Doom is the scenario where Batman has contingency plans for all other Justice League characters, and what happens when that gets into the wrong hands. It's actually a really cool film. You get to see some of my favorite Justice League characters having to deal with their biggest, I don't want to say fears necessarily, but basically that happens and they have to kind of deal with it. And I like how it kind of turns into the question of who Batman is, because it's got this really dark focus of like, hey, you're our friend, why do you have contingency plans for us? And look what happened now that you got these contingency plans on us and stuff. But also, Vandal Savage is one of the characters, because he's the main villain in the film. I don't really like him, but I thought he was pretty cool in this film. Not to mention Cheetah. Cheetah looked really cool. She's one of my favorite DC, in fact, she's one of my favorite comic book villains, but the design of her character looks really cool in this film. Coming in at 22, Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, it's one of those properties nobody heard of until the MCU brought it out. Great characters. It's a fun time. There are some pretty cool action sequences. I like the banter between the characters. I like the tension between the characters, because ultimately it does bring them together. Ronan isn't really the most memorable villain, but he's okay. And I think that works because the main characters are so silly. You got this so, serious villain, and when they kind of do banter back and forth, it just comes off a bit silly, and it's fun, it's humorous. So Guardians of the Galaxy, that's pretty, and not to mention it's got a really good soundtrack. Coming in at number 23, Tank Girl. Now I know this movie didn't do well in the movies. I think it bombed pretty bad, but I like Tank Girl. It's set in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Laura Petty is fun as Tank Girl, and I started reading some of the Tank Girl comics, and I feel like she does a decent job of actually portraying the character. I like that. If it's so insane. If you read the comics, you'll see it too. Like the way that everything's set up, the characters, everything's just kooky. It's crazy. The only issue I kind of have is Tank Girl is pretty damn brutal. Like there's blood and stuff, and people getting torn up and all types of shot up and shot in the face and blown up, and just ridiculousness. Now that a little bit of that would have got put into the film, I think it would have been a bit better, but I actually liked it. Coming in at number 24, Wonder Woman Bloodlines. Can't remember the Bloodlines. But anyways, this movie is which sucks, isn't a follow-up to the 2009 one, but it's actually a part of the DCEU one. I actually liked it. It's really cool. Again, Steve Trevor comes back. I like the villains. I wish there was a bit more to the villains, because there's so many villains that pop up, and it's like 6 villains that actually pop up in this film. Although we did get a pretty decent fight from Wonder Woman fighting Giganta. I wish it was a bit more extended, but it was actually pretty cool for what it was. I like the animation style. I like the voice performances. I like the characters. It's an interesting story. That climactic battle at the end was just crazy. So if you hadn't seen Bloodlines, check it out. Wonder Woman Bloodlines, check it out. Coming in at number 25, Kingsman: The Secret Service. I haven't seen the second one, but I did like the first one. I thought it had a lot of great charm to it. I like the secret agent aspect of it. I like the training aspect of it. I thought the villains was actually really cool. Gazelle was one of my favorite movie villains. I like the fact that she's a bit funny, she's a bit snarky, but she's really deadly. And Sophia Boutella completely does justice to the character. I like Samuel Jackson. He's good, really funny. He's kind of the same as what he normally plays, but he actually does manage to change it up a bit in this film. So he was actually pretty good, and I like the banter between those two. In fact, I like the performances all around. It's just a really good cast. Also, coming in at 26, TMNT. That's the animated one that came out, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, the animated one that came out in 2007, I believe. Great film. It has a lot of really good heart to it. It has a good focus on the characters. The villains may not be that memorable. I think they're a bit unique, but I think they're kind of in that zone where the Ninja Turtles started getting a little bit weird with interdimensional portal species and aliens and stuff like that. Like, that's when it started getting a little weird to me, but they were okay. It's an interesting story on that aspect, but I did like the animation. I thought the fights were actually pretty good, cool. Voice performances were really cool. It had a really good, dark and gritty atmosphere to it. And plus, one of the best things I like about that film is the fact that they act like ninjas, like straight up ninjas. The rest of the movies, they do a decent job of, but no, this one they actually act like ninjas. Coming in at number 27 is Aquaman. Now, nobody thought this movie was actually going to do a damn thing, but when it came out, it did its thing. Visually, one of the best films, especially with the underwater aspect, the sound design of when they're talking, when they're swimming, the fights. Just basically, if you look outside of the story and the performances, just all the aesthetic of it is just beautiful and just beautifully crafted. Now going to the performances, great performances. The story is pretty cool. I actually like the villain Ocean Master. He was actually pretty badass. So for people that thought Aquaman is a joke, go watch this movie, because I highly doubt you'll walk out of it thinking otherwise. Or I think of the same thing. Coming in at number 28. Growing up with this film, Conan the Barbarian, Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of his best film series. Too bad they never came up with a third one, even though technically they were saying Red Sonja was the third one, which I still don't understand why they had Red Sonja and then have Arnold play a guy that's basically Conan in it, instead of just saying he's Conan and just saying, hey, Red Sonja and Conan, that'll be the third film. Kind of like, I don't know, Ant-Man and the Wasp. But anyways, Conan grew up with it. It's a great sword and sorcery film. There's a lot of brutality to it. There's a bit of humor. There's a bit of charm. It's a story of revenge. And plus, you get to see a younger Arnold wielding his big-ass sword, just killing the hell out of people. And James Earl Jones as a snake guy that can turn to a snake or something like that. Anyways, it's a good film. Coming in at number 29, Batman, the 1989 film. I went back, watched it. It's got a lot of good charm. To me, it still holds up. The use of the practical effects, the way the cinematography of the film, the performances of the film, just watching the funny gadgets that they have in the film. Jack Nicholson is a fantastic Joker, and I really enjoyed. He just looked like he was just having a good time in that film. I like some of the fights that were actually in the film, and like I said, the score was actually really good, and it felt really cinematic. It felt like a live adaptation of the animated series, even though this came out before the animated series. So I really did enjoy Batman. Coming in at number 30, Spider-Man Far From Home. Didn't think I would like this film. I actually did like it. Now, I don't really like the whole Tony Stark giving Peter this access to all this technology. I think that was kind of a dumb way to go. But I did like the story. I did like the relationship between him and MJ. I did like his relationship with the guy that plays Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal is one of my favorite actors, and it was great seeing him play a villain. The whole visual aspect of it, the fights, the whole Mysterio aspect of it was just done just brilliantly. And if you hear the sirens, guys, please do try to ignore that. They're kind of far off in the distance, so I hope and we kind of stay next to the fire station and downtown and stuff. So every time that stuff blares, jumps off, we gotta hear it. But anyways, I continue on with this conversation. So Spider-Man Far From Home was actually pretty good. Now going up to 31, Red Sonja Queen of the Plagues. Yes, this is like a motion comic thing, but I count those too. I really like it because Red Sonja, again, I was one of those obscure characters to me. I started looking into her, and I did watch the movie back in the day, which I just referenced earlier with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I actually thought it was really cool. I think Red Sonja is a really cool character. I liked the story. I thought the story was actually pretty cool and did a good job of bringing the character out. And I'm like, why in the hell we don't have another Red Sonja movie at this point? But I thought it was really good. I thought it was entertaining. And I did like the motion comic aspect of it. Coming in at 32 is Joker. Didn't think I liked the film. I actually liked the film. It does show Joker in a more of a sympathetic way. Whereas in the other incarnation, this Joker is portraying more as like mental health issues. And it was good, bit of interesting insight into it. And not only is it because of the characters, but it's because of Joaquin Phoenix's performance, and he did a really good job with the character. So Joker was actually a pretty cool movie. And plus, I have to say, it was a really powerful soundtrack. The music was really, really, really good. Oh, I think Zaza was in this film as well. So, she popped up in a Marvel movie, and then she popped up in a DC movie. 2 for 2. That's what's up. Coming in at 33, Avengers: Age of Ultron. I like the first Avengers, but I like Age of Ultron better. It's more. It gives us more insight into the characters, their relationships, where their relationships have developed since the first film. I like Ultron. I thought he was an interesting villain. Would have liked to see more progression with his character, but I thought it was okay. Wanda was actually introduced, one of my favorite MCU characters. She's played by Elizabeth Olsen. Love her. She's one of my movie sweethearts. I like the action sequences. The music is really good. And like I said, we got a really cool fight with the Hulk in this film. It's Iron Man versus the Hulk, and that's one. I'm sick and tired of Hulk movies coming out and they fights be all like PG-13 and suppressed. No, I want it action-packed, complete destruction, raw. And this movie gave it to me. So I really appreciate that too. 2 thumbs up to that as well. Now, let's go ahead and jump into 34. Batman: Mask of the Phantasm came out in theaters in the 90s. Really good, like Batman's first animated theatrical release. Really good movie. It has really good heart to it. A really good emotional insight into who Batman is and what has led him to become Batman. We had the Joker. Mark Hamill just completely kills as the Joker. He's silly, he's funny, he's threatening. The story itself is really, really dark. And the Phantasm character is really cool. I really would like to see that character return. But that arc in that movie was really completed, so it wouldn't make no sense for that character to come back. So Batman: Mask of the Phantasm is a good film. One of the best Batman movies. Coming in at number 35, Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass is one of the funniest comic book movies I've ever seen, because I like the fact that it's so serious, but at the same time it's so silly. It's really cool. It's a really fun film. It's brutal too, and it shows you why a person would not most likely try to be a superhero in real life, because there's a lot of brutality that comes with it, particularly to the superhero. But honestly, one of the best performances by Nicolas Cage. I don't really like Nicolas Cage, but I think he did a really good job in this film. Chloe Grace Moretz, this movie, she got put on my radar. Really enjoyed her as Hit Girl. She literally takes every scene. It shouldn't even really be called Kick-Ass because of her. It should be called Hit Girl, because she just steals all the damn scenes. It's just a good movie all around. Coming in at number 36 is Iron Man. Now me, I kind of prefer, I really do like Iron Man 3. And I like Iron Man 3 for a lot of reasons. I don't like Iron Man 2, although the courtroom scene was my favorite scene in that film. Next to that big shootout at the end of the movie. But Iron Man is just a good origin story for Tony Stark. Tony Stark is one of the characters I don't care about, but this movie does humanizes him and makes him an interesting character. I like the progression. I love superheroes when they're doing their thing and they're showing the progression of him becoming the superhero. And I think this film does a really good job of that. Good job of diving into who he is, what led him to where he's at now, and just the action I thought was actually pretty good. I really did like the cast. I like Gwyneth Paltrow with Pepper Potts, and I like their back and forth banter. Terrence Howard I thought was okay. I do like Don Cheadle, who pops up, who replaces him as James Rhodey, but and there is a missed opportunity in this movie for a missed opportunity towards the end, and if you've seen the film, you know what I mean. Well, I'm like, why did they just do that? Why would they sit there and introduce the idea of it and then just gloss over it? So, Iron Man, I actually did like. It's a good movie. Coming in at number 37 is Whiteout. Now, Whiteout features Kate Beckinsale. Kate Beckinsale is one of my favorite actresses, hands down. I like this movie because it's good seeing her in a role like this, because she plays this, I don't want to say security guard detective or anything, but she's investigating this death that has happened in this isolated facility in not Alaska, not Antarctica, but it's one of those cold regions. But this is a pretty suspenseful movie. It's got a really good suspenseful atmosphere, and the setting is really cool. I like the fact that you don't know who the bad guy is with the human characters, why they have to deal with the growing threat of the environment. It's really cold, it's really desolate, it's isolated. There's some really interesting and cool shots in this film. There are a lot of really cool suspenseful moments in this film. A lot of them had to do with the setting, so I really did enjoy this movie. It was a good movie. Coming in at number 38 is Vixen. Now, Vixen was actually like a mini series of like 3 episodes, and somebody just compiled it and put it into one movie, which I think is really good. And it's set in the Arrowverse, which kind of pisses me off, because I'm like, so we get all of these other characters that got the live action series, and then the one black chick, the Hut series, is freaking animated. But I can't say that because they have Black Lightning. But anyways, I'm just being stupid. But Vixen is actually one of my favorite characters as well, and I actually like this film. It's a good origin story for the character. She's really interesting. I like that she gets to interact with other Arrowverse characters. I think the story is really interesting as well. I think it is a bit of a missed opportunity, because I think it would have worked better as a live action film. But I did like the story. I like the action. I like the animation. I like the voice performances. It's just a great movie. I really enjoy Vixen. Coming in, you can't have nice things without people sitting here calling you. Anyways, coming in at number 39 is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I know I'm like one of like 3 people that actually like Batman v Superman, but I actually like the film. I like the fact that Batman, it's a different take on Batman, because you get to see a bit more into his trauma, into his anger. He's older now, and I like the fact that he does not give a crap. He's a bit more violent. He's a bit more brutal. I like that, because it's one of those moments where it's like, okay, either you die a hero or you live to see yourself long enough to become kind of the villain. And I see that story with him, where he's becoming more violent with the criminals and stuff like that. He kills in this film, and I like that. I like the fact that Superman questions himself. I like the social aspect of it. Should there be a Superman? I like the fact that we have Wonder Woman show up in this film, and I like that she's kind of in the background and everything, and then she ultimately shows up as a Wonder Woman. Now, I understand a lot of people don't like the Lex Luthor played by Jesse Eisenberg, but I don't mind it, because I felt like that was a good opportunity for that character to develop to the Lex Luthor that we all know and love. But I don't think we're going to get that chance now. But still, it had a good, the fights were actually really good. I thought the music was actually pretty powerful, and I actually liked the story and the social commentary that comes with it. Coming in at number 40, another one of those gems, barbed wire. Now, I heard that this movie was just absolutely terrible. But when I actually went back and watched it, because I read a couple of the comics too, and I was like, okay, it's not bad. It's uneventful. Not a lot really happens in the film, but I actually liked it. I thought Pamela Anderson did a decent job as the character. I would have liked to have seen more, a bit more action, a bit more, of the other characters that make cameos and stuff in the comics. But it was decent. It was actually a decent film. And yes, Pamela Anderson was completely hot. Coming in at 41, Planet Hulk. Planet Hulk is a good movie. It's definitely, I haven't really been following the Hulk comics like that, but I actually thought this movie was actually pretty cool. The animation style is actually pretty cool. The visual, the sound, the voice performance is actually pretty cool. The fights were pretty badass. Hulk gets stranded on this other planet, has to compete with gladiators and stuff, and has to deal with overthrowing the king, who's a jackass. And just the fights were actually pretty cool and pretty memorable, and the story was actually pretty cool. Not to mention Beta Ray Bill makes an appearance in this, and him and Hulk just had this really brutal badass fight. So that was there. That's that too. I was actually hoping that this would lead to a World War Hulk, and I still hope that Marvel will do that. But you never know. Hopefully they will. Coming in at 42, Justice League Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters is a different take on the Justice League, in which the characters are different people. So instead of it being Jor-El's son, Kal-El, it's Zod's son, who's become Superman. Instead of it being Diana Prince becoming Wonder Woman, it's I forgot her name. She's one of the people from the New Gods. She becomes Wonder Woman. Instead of it being Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, it's Lang, the guy that's Man-Bat. And the alternate version is him, who becomes Batman. And I like that. I like that these are different incarnations of the characters, and their code and stuff is pretty brutal as well. But I do like the development of the characters. I like the relationships. I like seeing these different incarnations of other characters outside of them as well. I think it has some really cool fight sequences. I think it had a really cool story, and I'm looking forward to seeing more, because I think this actually has potential to carry on to be other. To be bigger too. Like, I would like to see a series, which I think they do have a series, which I need to go check out. But hopefully they have other incarnations of other characters in it as well. So I like Gods and Monsters, and I need to invest more time into that. Coming in at number 2, Superman 2. Now, if you want to say the Richard whatever's cut, then I guess fine. I actually like Superman 2. Don't like Superman 1. Hate Superman 3. Superman 4 is decent. But Superman 2 is really cool. I like the fact that, we get more insight into Superman, his backstory, his relationship with Lois Lane, which is developed, him trying to figure out if he wants to be normal or not, which I like that storyline as well. Of course, you got to bring in Zod, you have to bring in Nan, you have to bring in whatever that chick's name, and I actually think the fights are actually pretty entertaining. I think this is actually a pretty entertaining film, and I think it's probably the second best Superman film. Coming in at number 44, The Dark Knight Rises. This movie is polarizing to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. But me, I have to say I think it's a good conclusion to the Christopher Nolan Batman. I think it's interesting, the story and kind of the scope of it, and I see what they were going for and how it's all linked up. I do like the villains, I have to say that. I like Talia. I think she was actually pretty sexy and pretty smart, and her plan was actually pretty cool. Bane was just a straight up beast in this film. Tom Hardy did his thing in this film as Bane. I like Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. She was sexy, she was smart, she was sleek. I liked the outfit. I like what she contributed to the film. I just like this film overall. The music, the scope, the story, the action sequences that are in the film were actually pretty cool too. So as a conclusion to the Dark Knight trilogy, and plus they do leave off on a what could have or what could be, I think that was actually pretty cool as well. Coming in at number 45, Green Lantern First Flight. Green Lantern Flight. This is a good movie. I like Green Lantern. I like Hal Jordan. I like Kyle Rayner more, and I would like to see a movie with him. But I think this is a really good origin story for for Hal Jordan. It's got some really cool action. I like the animation style. I like the fights. This is just a really good, entertaining film. And plus, this is the one you get kind of see Sinestro in the throes of becoming the Yellow Lantern. So it was actually pretty good. In fact, damn near every incarnation of movie or whatever you see Sinestro becoming Yellow Lantern, but basically him turning to the dark side. But I do like First Flight. I think it's a really entertaining and really the only good adaptation of his story in movie so far. I'm not one of the ones that completely hate the Ryan Reynolds ones. I think it's okay. I don't think it's like terrible, but I think it's okay. But anyways, continuing on. Wonder Woman, the one movie that came in 2009, really good film. It has a lot of good action. It has a lot of good heart. I like the animation style. I like the story. I think it's really entertaining. I do think that the scope of it is really cool, and I'm glad that they actually kind of brought in like more of the Greco-Roman aspect of the mythology to Wonder Woman's mythology. I like the scope of it, where it's like it basically in the world. And Ares is, I think it was actually a pretty menacing villain, and I like the turn, the way they turn the tables between how the story, how the intro tells the story. I'm trying to give too much away. I like how they twist it at the end to go the opposite way. I think what it starts off is as the Queen Hippolyta kills Ares' son, and then Queen Hippolyta's daughter ends up killing Ares. It's something like that. I think that's what it was. But it was actually pretty cool. Pretty well done. Also, for 47, Men in Black. Men in Black I thought was actually pretty cool. I didn't know this was a comic book movie for the longest time, but I thought it was really cool. And seeing the chemistry between Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith actually just brought a smile to my face. It's great seeing these two interact on screen. I like the film. I like the idea of it. I like how stylish the film looks. Not only with the different aliens, the set pieces, the backdrops, the technology, the suits. Everything just feels so stylishly polished when you look at this film. Coming in at 48, X-Men 2, X-Men United. Really like this film. It's definitely a good follow-up to the first film. There's a lot more action sequences in it. There's a lot more insight and focus on the characters. A lot of characters that didn't get fleshed out in the first film, they get fleshed out a bit better in this film, and it works. Come on, that intro with Nightcrawler was just mad crazy. It's one of the best intros to any comic book movie ever. It was just straight up badass. But I like the story of it. I like seeing Hugh Jackman as Logan and how he's fitting into all of this and the emotional journey that he has to deal with, especially what happens at the end of the film. So it's a great movie all around, really entertaining, and definitely a good sequel. Coming in at 49, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. A lot of people think the first Guardians of the Galaxy is better than this one. I think they're pretty much even. I do like, again, this is one of those where it focuses, where the first film introduces the characters and the second film kind of focuses more on the internal struggles, things with their backstory, stuff that they have to deal with, their interpersonal relationships. And I like the fact that this film does focus on all of that stuff. I think it's fun. I think it's a good follow-up. I think that there's some really cool, entertaining sequences in it. The humor is definitely there. And not to mention, one of my favorite actors in the film as well. For some reason, I'm having a problem remembering his name now. I hate that when that happens. I don't know. I don't remember his name, but it's great seeing him in the film. He does contribute something. And he made Ego a pretty interesting villain. And that's one thing I can't say about this film. Ego is one of those characters I thought was a stupid concept, but in this film, they actually made him pretty interesting, pretty cool. And coming in at number 50, Watchmen. Watchmen is one of those movies where they take the concept of superheroes and they make it deadly serious. But there's a lot of social undertones to this film. that I think actually works. And I like the fact that the superhero point of it does a good job of that it focuses on superheroes, that it tells a story through them and those social ideologies through them and what they mean to the world and stuff like that. I think that's really cool, and I think a lot of people actually do kind of miss out on that, like the message behind the movie. But this is a really good and entertaining movie nonetheless. So Watchmen, number 50, definitely on the list. But there go my top 50 comic book movies, guys. In the comment section below, tell me let me know in the comment section. Do you agree with my list? Or there's some movies that you don't like? What are movies you think I could have put up in there? Or comic book movies I should see? Because like I said, I've seen more than this. These are just the 50 ones that I picked. But and also be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and a notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. We'll definitely catch you guys later.